Thank God, this incredible HFY masterpiece found you today. Witness the legend starting now. My name is Vekron Tarl, and up until 3 cycles ago, I was the most respected combat instructor at the Galactic Defense Training Complex on Station Helix 9. Notice how I said was. Yeah, well, there is a reason for that. Past tense, and it involves a humming elbow and my complete and utter stupidity. But we will get to that spectacular disaster in a moment. First, let me paint you a picture of where this catastrophe took place. The training hall on Helix 9 is massive. Right, we are talking about a space that could fit 6 Krellian battle cruisers side by side. The floors are made of this compressed titanium ceramic composite that can withstand plasma, fire, kinetic strikes, and apparently the impact of a 300 lb Centauri. Instructor's face. The walls are lined with weapons racks, holographic projectors, and observation platforms where other species come to watch the training sessions. It is basically a gladiatorial arena, except instead of fighting to the death, we are supposedly teaching discipline and combat technique. I had been running combat drills at this facility for 15 standard years. 15. I had trained Krellians who stand 8 ft tall and can bench press a small spacecraft. I had trained Zalathi warriors whose exoskeletons are harder than reinforced Durasteel. I had even trained those insufferable cake diplomats who think talking is a martial art, and in all that time not one of them had ever managed to land a significant blow on me, not one. So when the human recruitment program started and command told me I would be training these soft, squishy bipeds from some backwater planet called Earth, I laughed, actually laughed right in Commander Thex's face. He did not find it amusing, but I did not care. Humans, really, these were the creatures that needed environmental suits just to survive on 70% of habitable worlds. These were the beings whose bones could apparently break if they fell wrong. These were the species that could die from ingesting the wrong plant material. And then she walked in. Her name was Maya Kowalski. 5 ft and 6 in of what I assumed would be easy work. She had this dark hair pulled back, tight brown eyes that seemed to take in everything, and a build that by Centauri standards looked like it would snap if you breathed on it too hard. She was wearing the standard issue training uniform, which on her frame looked about as threatening as a nursery blanket. She stood there in the center of the training floor, looking around with this calm expression that I mistook for nervousness. Oh, how wrong I was, how spectacularly, painfully, face-breakingly wrong I was. But at that moment I just smiled my best condescending smile and prepared to show this fragile little human why the Centauri were considered the finest warriors in 9 sectors. Spoiler alert. That confidence aged like milk in a supernova. So there I was, standing in front of Maya Kowalski and approximately 30 other recruits from various species, ready to demonstrate why I was the best combat instructor in the sector. And yes, I know how that sounds now, but you have to understand, my reputation was not exactly unearned. I had compiled a training record that was the envy of every other instructor on Helix 9. 0 training fatalities, a 98% graduation rate, and more commendations than I had wall space to display them. The observation platforms were packed that day. Word had gotten around that humans were finally being integrated into the combat program, and everyone wanted to see how these Earth creatures would handle Zentari training methods. I could see Grix Morlan up there, a Krellian instructor who I had a running bet with. He was probably hoping I would go easy on the humans. Fat chance I could also spot several caked administrators taking notes and a cluster of Zalathi veterans who were clearly there for the entertainment value. And GT, music. And GT, all right, recruits. I began pacing in front of the formation with my hands clasped behind my back. Welcome to Advanced Combat Theory and Application. I am Instructor Vekron Tarl, and for the next 6 cycles, I will be turning you from whatever you currently are into something resembling functional soldiers. I stopped in front of Maya. She did not flinch. Most recruits had the decency to look intimidated when a 300 lb Zentari with facial ridges and 4 claws got in their personal space. Not her. She just stood there meeting my gaze with this blank professional expression. I said, pointing one clawed finger at her. Human, tell me what makes you think your species has any business in combat training, sir. I was assigned here by Recruitment Command, she replied, her music voice steady. No tremor, no hesitation. I intend to complete the program. Oh, I almost respected that answer, almost. But I was too busy being an arrogant idiot to appreciate it. Assigned. Right, I turned away from her and addressed the whole group. Let me tell you all something about combat. It is not about intention. It is not about heart or spirit or any of that poetic garbage. Combat is about physical capability, reaction time, and the ability to withstand damage while delivering it in return. I moved to the center of the training floor and activated one of the sparring drones. The thing hummed to life, its mechanical limbs extending as it sized me up for combat simulation. What happened next was, I will admit, a pretty impressive display. I spent the next 5 minutes dismantling that drone with a combination of Zentari close quarters techniques that I had perfected over decades. Strikes that could shatter reinforced plating, grappling moves that could immobilize a Krellian, footwork that made me look like I was dancing rather than fighting. When I finished, the drone was in pieces and I was not even breathing hard. The observation platforms erupted in polite applause. Yeah, they had seen it before, but it never got old. That, I announced, turning back to the recruits, is what peak combat performance looks like. Now I understand that most of you come from species with certain physical limitations. My eyes landed on Maya. Again, some more than other. Humans, for instance, have an oxygen-based cardiovascular system that limits endurance. Your bone density is laughable compared to most military species. You lack natural armor, natural weapons, and from what I have read in the briefing, you can actually die from simple environmental temperature music changes. A few of the other recruits, mostly Zalathi, made these chittering sounds that passed for laughter in their species. But do not worry, I continued, my voice dripping with mocking encouragement. We will work with what you have, even if what you have is not much. Maya's expression did not change, not even a flicker, and up in the observation deck, I heard Grix Morlan say something to his companion that I could not quite make out. Later, much later. And GT, music. And GT, he told me what he had said. That human has the eyes of someone who has already decided how this ends. Vecron is in trouble. He was right. I was in so much trouble. After my little show with the sparring drone, I decided it was time for some hands-on instruction. And because I apparently had the survival instincts of a concussed Marlox, I chose Maya as my demonstration partner. You human, step forward, I commanded, gesturing for her to join me in the center of the training floor. She moved without hesitation, taking position about 6 ft away from me. Professional controlled, I should have recognized those signs. Any competent instructor would have, but no, I was too busy being impressed with myself. Now I am going to demonstrate proper defensive posture and reaction to an incoming strike. I announced to the class, pay attention because this applies to all of you, regardless of your species' physical advantages, or I glanced at Maya disadvantages. I could hear a few snickers from the observation deck. Yeah, real funny, laugh it up. I will move slowly so the human can attempt a basic defensive technique, I said, positioning myself just a bit too close to her. Ready, recruit? Yes, sir. Maya replied. We should mention something here. Zentari have these facial ridges that protrude slightly forward in our nasal structure, while not as prominent as a music humans still extends out from our face. It is sensitive, very sensitive, like critical nerve cluster that should not be struck. Sensitive. I raised my arm in an exaggerated slow motion strike, telegraphing the movement so obviously that a blind cake could have seen it coming. The idea was that Maya would block, I would correct her form, and everyone would see how patient and skilled I was at teaching even the most hopeless cases. What actually happened was that Maya shifted her weight, brought her arms up in a guard position. That was frankly better than I expected. And then this is the important part. Music leaned in closer to adjust her stance. Too close, way too close. My face was maybe 8 in from hers when I said, no, you need to tuck your elbows tighter to your core like this, and reached out to physically correct her position. That is when her head snapped forward. I do not think she meant to do it. At least I hope she did not mean to do it, because if that was intentional, then I got played like a Krelian string instrument. But her forehead collided with my nasal ridge with this wet crunch sound that echoed through the entire training hall. The pain was instantaneous and absolutely spectacular. Have you ever had your nose broken? Now multiply that by about 6, because Zentari nasal structures have about 3 times the nerve endings of a human's. I stumbled backward, both hands flying to my face, and I could feel the warm blue-green blood already flowing between my fingers. Sir, I am sorry. I did not mean. Maya started, but I was not listening. The entire training hall had gone completely silent. 30 recruits stood frozen up in the observation platforms. Every single spectator had stopped whatever they were doing. Someone's datapad clattered to the floor. I heard Grix Moreland say, "Oh, by the voy." I looked up at Maya through watering eyes, blood streaming down my face, and I saw her expression. Concern, definitely. Maybe a bit of genuine apology, but also, and this is what I remember most clearly, there was this tiny flicker of something else. Assess, like she was calculating what came next. She should have been calculating, because what came next was me making the second worst decision of My entire military career, the worst. Decision was what I said next, through a broken nose and thoroughly damaged. Pride, you just assaulted a superior officer human. Now in my defense I was in pain. I was bleeding and about 50 witnesses had just watched me get head-butted by a species that I had spent the last 20 minutes describing as physically inferior. My ego was bruised worse than my nose. And I said something stupid, really stupid. Maya's expression changed. The apologetic look vanished, replaced by something cold and calculating. Sir, that was accidental. I was adjusting my position when I do not care what it was. I snapped, taking a step toward her. Blood was music, still pouring from my nose, and I was aware that I looked ridiculous, but I was committed now. You just struck an instructor during a training exercise. That is a violation of Protocol 7-3. I reached out to grab her shoulder. I was not going to hurt her, I swear. I was just going to escort her off the training floor and file a formal complaint. Music. That is it, just a hand on her shoulder to guide her toward the exit. I never made contact. What happened next occurred in maybe 1.12 seconds, but I remember it like it was stretched out over an hour. Maya's body shifted, her weight dropping slightly as she pivoted on her back foot. Her right arm, which had been hanging loose at her side, suddenly was not there anymore. I mean, it was there, obviously, but it had moved so fast that my eyes lost track of it. Then I felt it, her elbow. That small bony point at the end of her arm caught me right across the jaw with a force that I still cannot fully explain. Humans are supposed to be weak, right? Fragile. Yeah, well, nobody told Maya Kowalski that. Music. The impact sounded like someone had slapped a piece of meat against a bulkhead. My head snapped to the side, and I actually felt my jaw dislocate. Not break, dislocate. The entire right side of my face just decided it did not want to be attached properly anymore. I was already falling before my brain caught up with what had happened. My legs, which had supported me through countless combat situations, just gave out. I went down hard in the compressed titanium ceramic floor that I had bragged about earlier. Turns out it is really unforgiving when your face hits it at speed. I landed in a heap, my vision swimming with spots, tasting blood and hearing this high-pitched ringing in my ears. That might have been tinnitus, or might have been my career dying. For about 3 seconds nobody moved, nobody breathed. The entire training hall was frozen. This perfect moment of collective shock. Then all hell broke loose. Someone in the observation deck shouted, "Medical! Get medical down here now!" I heard footsteps, lots of them, rushing toward the training floor. Through my blurred vision, I could see Maya stepping back, her hands raised in a non-threatening position, her face showing what looked like genuine concern. Now, too little, too music late. Grix Moreland was suddenly beside me, his massive Kryllian hand surprisingly gentle as he checked my injuries. "Vecron, you absolute idiot," he muttered. "Do not move, your jaw is hanging raw." Other instructors were crowding around now. I heard Seliquin, the Zalathi medical officer, barking orders. And GT, music. And GT, clear space, everyone back, get a med scanner over here. Through the chaos I heard one of the Kicks administrators speaking rapidly into a comm device. "Does confirmed. Instructor Tarrell is Down, no, not the drone, the human. Recruit, yes, I said the human, I know. How that sounds, someone was restraining Maya now, not roughly but firmly. She was not resisting, she just stood there looking down at me with this expression that I could not quite read, regret maybe, but there was also something else, a kind of resigned acceptance, like she had known this was going to happen eventually. Up in the observation platforms, I could hear the murmuring growing louder, dozens of voices, multiple species, all talking at once. I caught fragments. Did you see that strike perfect form humans have? Combat training since when? Vecron had it coming. Honestly, I had money on the human lasting 3 days, not 3 hours. Grix leaned down close to my ear. For what it is worth, my friend, you grabbed at her first. Security footage will show that. You might want to remember that when you file your report. Great, just great. Not only had I gotten my face rearranged by a human, but I was technically at fault. The med team arrived with a hover stretcher, and as they loaded me onto it, I caught one last glimpse of Maya. She was being led away by security, but she turned back to look at me, and I swear she mouthed the words, "I really am sorry." Yeah. Me too, human. Me too. The medical bay on Helix 9 is normally a quiet, professional environment where injured personnel receive treatment with dignity and respect. Yeah, well, not today. Today it was apparently the galaxy's most popular comedy club, and I was the main attraction. Selaquin, the Zalathi medical officer, stood over me with her scanning equipment, making these clicking sound that our species uses to express disapproval. Vecron, I have treated you for plasma burns, kinetic impact trauma, and that incident with the malfunctioning gravity generator. But this is new. Just fix it, I mumbled through my dislocated jaw. Even talking hurt, everything hurt. Oh, I will fix it, she replied, her multifaceted eyes gleaming with what I am pretty sure was amusement. But first, I need to document this for the medical records. Cause of injury: struck by human recruit during training exercise. Mechanism of injury: elbow to facial structure. She paused. You know, in 15 years of running this medical bay, I have never written that particular combination of words before. And GT, music. And GT. The door to the medical bay slid open, and Grix Moreland walked in, followed by at least 4 other instructors. Music. Great, just what I needed. An Audi. How is our fearless combat instructor doing? Grix asked, and I could hear the barely suppressed laughter in his voice. Badly, Sella reported, running the scanner over my jaw. Dislocated mandible, fractured nasal ridge, minor concussion, and severely damaged pride. That last one might be permanent. Not helping, I groaned. Instructor Thorvex, a Kix who taught tactical theory, leaned against the wall with her arms crossed. So Vecron, tell me, in your professional opinion, how would you rate the human's combat technique? You know, from your unique perspective, as someone who experienced it face first. The other instructors made various sounds of amusement. And GT, music. And GT, species-specific laughter is weird. You have got Kryllian rumbling, Zalathi chittering, and Kix this weird whistling sound. All of it was directed at me. It was a lucky shot, I managed to say. A lucky shot, Grix repeated slowly. Right, because accidentally headbutting someone and then reflexively delivering a perfect elbow strike is totally luck. Nothing to do with training or muscle memory at all. Sella was positioning some kind of reconstruction brace around my jaw. Hold still, this is going to. She was right. It did hurt a lot. I made a sound that was probably not very dignified. Oh, you big baby, she muttered, adjusting the brace. I have treated Zalathi hatchlings who complained less than you, while she worked. Instructor Kelvin Risk, who ran weapons training, pulled out his datapad. You all need to see this. Security footage just got posted to the Instructor network. No, I said, or tried to say. It came out more like yes, Kelvin replied, grinning. He turned the pad so everyone could see, and they all crowded around to watch my humiliation in high definition. I could not see the screen from my position on the med table, but I could hear the playback, my own voice, arrogant and condescending. That is a violation of Protocol 7-3. The sound of moo, then that awful meaty thwack of Maya's elbow connecting with my face, the thud of my body hitting the floor. Silence for a moment, then Thora started laughing, actually laughing. That weird kicks whistling sound that got louder and louder until she had to lean against the wall for support. It gets better, Kelvin said. And GT, music. And GT, rewinding the footage. Watch her footwork, that pivot is textbook. Close quarters combat, and the elbow strike, that is not luck, that is trained response. Grix nodded, his expression more serious now. Earth has combat training programs. Multiple ones apparently. Their military puts significant emphasis on hand-to-hand techniques. And GT, music. And GT, because they lack natural weapons. I should have mentioned that in the briefing. You think, I muttered, so finished with the brace and stepped back. There, your jaw will heal in about 6 standard days. The nasal ridge will take longer, and before you ask, yes, there will be scarring. Think of it as a learning experience made permanent. Music. My datapad started buzzing, then buzzing again and again. Messages were flooding in. I could see the notification count climbing. And GT, music. And GT, 20, 40, 60. Oh, this is spreading, Kelvin observed, looking at his own pad. It is already on 3 different station networks. Someone titled it, Instructor learns valuable lesson about Earth species. Kill me now, I said. Cannot do that, Sella replied cheerfully. Medical oath, you will just have to live with this. Yay, living with it, that was going to be the hard part, so here is where I tell you about the consequences. And trust me, they were extensive. Formal inquiry took 2 days. They reviewed the security footage about 90 times. The conclusion, I had initiated physical contact after Maya's accidental headbutt, which legally classified my action as escalation. Her response was deemed justified self-defense under Galactic Military Code Section 12. Case closed. No charges filed against Maya Kowalski. Me, I got a formal reprimand placed in my permanent record. Mandatory retraining on proper conduct with multi-species recruits, and the absolute joy of becoming station-wide famous for all the wrong reasons. Footage went viral. And GT, music. And GT, and I mean really viral. Within a week, beings on 17 different Stations were watching me get dropped by. A human, someone set it to music. Another person made a compilation of my most arrogant quotes followed by the elbow strike. The kicks comedian used it in his stand-up routine. I became a meme, a teaching tool, a cautionary tale, but you know what the worst part was? Actually talking to Maya. Afterward, Commander Thax ordered us both to his office 3 days after the incident. My jaw was still in the brace. Her record was still under review, and the tension in that room could have powered a small starship. Instructor Tarl, Thax began, his voice carefully neutral. Do you have anything to say to Recruit Kowalski? I looked at her. She looked back, her expression unreadable. I apologize, I said, and I meant it. I underestimated you. I underestimated your species, and I let my pride override my professionalism. Maya nodded slowly, and I apologize for breaking your face, sir. That was not my intention, but you did train in combat before joining, correct? Thax asked. Yes, sir. 6 years of Krav Maga, 4 years of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and 2 years of Muay Thai, standard Earth military combatives. Thax looked at me. I looked at the floor. Perhaps, Thax continued, in the future, Instructor Tarl will review recruit files more thoroughly before making assumptions. Yeah, perhaps. Maya graduated top of her class, by the way. Scored highest marks in combat training, tactical assessment, and something called adaptive response under pressure, which I am pretty sure they added just to rub salt in my wounds. She is currently serving on a multi-species strike team and has a commendation record that is frankly intimidating. Me, I'm still teaching at Helix 9, still running combat drills, but now, when human recruits show up, I treat them with the same respect I give Krillians and Zalathi, because I learned something important that day, something that apparently needed to be beaten into my thick Zentari skull. Humans are not physically impressive by galactic standards. They are not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most durable, but they are absolutely, without question, dangerous, because they know they are outmatched. So they train, they studied, they developed fighting systems specifically designed to let smaller, weaker beings defeat larger, stronger opponents, and they are really, really good at it. My jaw healed eventually. The scars faded mostly. My reputation, well, that took longer. I am still that instructor who got dropped by the human. Probably will be for the rest of my career, but honestly, I earned it. So, if you are out there reading this, thinking about underestimating humans because they look soft and fragile, let me give you some free advice from someone who learned this lesson the hard way. Do not music. Just do not. Because somewhere out there is a 5FT6 inhuman who will absolutely ruin your day, your face, and your career with one perfectly executed elbow strike. Trust me on this. My face remembers. And GT, an unbreakable will. No force in the galaxy can hold us back. God brought you here for a reason. If you believe in the power of the human spirit, hit subscribe. Join the golden age. See you among the stars.